And so now I have the privilege to invite and introduce our teacher for this evening. Anyone who's been a part of the meditation class here at Temple or elsewhere in the Jewish community by now knows Ann Friedman very well. She has been a teacher as well as a practitioner of Jewish mindfulness and meditation for many, many years. She's one of the teachers of our class here that is held every Shabbat morning, but she also teaches throughout the community at 3 other synagogues in addition to our own, so she has pretty well cornered the market on Jewish meditation in Houston. Ann's background is in psychology. That's her professional training. She has served as an adjunct professor at the University of Houston Counseling Psychology graduate program for 10 years. Her doctorate is in counseling psychology, and she has a JD from the University of Houston as well. Her residency was in clinical psychology at UT Medical School, and she did a postdoc in clinical neuropsychology at the Baylor College of Medicine. But she is here with us this evening because of who she is, not just what she's done in the past. She is a skilled, talented, unique, and warm teacher of Jewish mindfulness. She has been an extraordinary Jewish presence in the lives of so many members of our congregation and of our Jewish community. She has been studying mindfulness intensively with a number of teachers who are nationally and internationally renowned for about the past 10 years or so. And last year she received a certification in mindfulness facilitation from the Mindfulness Awareness Research Center of the Semel Institute of Neuroscience and Behavioral Medicine at UCLA. And Ann is now on track to become an affiliate teacher with UCLA. All of the clergy in this congregation feel extraordinarily blessed to have another deeply spiritual teacher in our midst. Those of you that have been her students know what I'm talking about, and those of you that have not yet have the privilege or the pleasure to be taught by Ann are now in for a real treat this evening. So it is a real privilege and a pleasure to invite our speaker this evening, Dr. Ann Friedman.
Thank you very much for those kind words. Shabbat Shalom. I am deeply honored to be asked to speak tonight. Rabbi Hayon has asked me to talk about the meaning of the holidays and what kind of impact they've had on my spiritual journey. I have been a spiritual seeker since I was a child. Experience has taught me that the most challenging and sometimes painful experiences in life are what bring the most growth. This was true 11 years ago when life rained down on us. Our house flooded and we had to move into an apartment for 4 months. My mother started to have brain seizures. Our dog was a wreck. I had some scary health issues, and we were trying to figure out which middle school our son would attend. My anxiety reached a new peak. As a psychologist, I felt like a fraud. I could help others, but couldn't help myself. I didn't know where to turn, yet experience tells me that when I ask God for help, it comes, but not always in the forms I would imagine. A year earlier, I had heard a rabbi, David Zeller, speak at the JCC. I read an article in the Jewish Herald Voice about Rabbi Zeller's visit, and I instinctively knew I had to attend. I was tired the evening of the event, but my heart knew I needed to be there, so I went. Rabbi Zeller deeply touched me, and I signed up for his email blasts from Jerusalem. Suddenly, I received an email that he was gravely ill and turning over his retreats in the U.S. to his friend, Rabbi David Cooper. My anxiety had been so strong that my beloved soulmate and husband, Kenny, enthusiastically helped me pack my bags for my first 7-day silent retreat, which I had no idea what I was getting into. The retreat introduced me to Renewal Judaism, founded by the Hasidic rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi, and mindfulness, which comes from Buddhist Vipassana. While we could not converse during the retreat, The compassion I felt from Rabbi Cooper and the others brought much needed relief. I was hooked, determined to bring renewal Judaism and mindfulness into my life. For those of you who are new to these concepts, renewal Judaism brings the teachings and practices of Hasidism, like chanting and meditation, to Reform and conservative Jews with none of the rules. It inspired the creation of the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, which now trains Reform rabbis in these practices. Mindfulness teaches us to pay attention to the present moment with a non-judgmental attitude, one that is kind and curious. It's easier said than done. The habit energy of our minds continually visits experiences of the past, plans for the future, and often judges the present moment as less than desirable. To stay in present moment with an open, curious mind, we must train our minds just like we train our bodies. Since I was a child, I have loved Bible stories. Thanks to my wonderful mother, who's here tonight. Rabbi Cooper told me that, unlike Buddhism, the teachings of mindfulness were more challenging to find in Judaism. They are often veiled in story, requiring deeper interpretation. Yet I was determined. I started my search simultaneously reading the Buddhist texts along with the teachings of the contemplatives and mystics of our tradition. I was drawn to the writings of Kalonymus Shapira, the Rebbe of the Warsaw Ghetto, finding passages in his wartime diary that spoke to my own experience. Rabbi Shapira does not single out the Nazis as horrible human beings. He speaks about all of us and the insanity of the human mind, saying that each one of us has one or several emotional weak points: self-indulgence, control issues, ego pride, that create such irrational thoughts that only a psychotic could entertain them. Really? The Rebbe is saying that we have a lot in common with a psychotic? He encourages us to watch every thought that comes to mind, to pay attention to all our inner self-talk. And he says that at the beginning, this introspection will be with crooked vision, deluding ourselves at how clever our thoughts are. But with perseverance, we will clearly see how irrational our thinking is and be shocked at how we had ever entertained such delusions. Our deified intellect will then lose its status and become an object of laughter for us. Never again will we blindly trust our mind and rely on its rationality. These are some of the deepest teachings of mindfulness from a man in the midst of the pain of the Holocaust. So how does this relate to the High Holy Days? Each year we read the acrostic: we are arrogant, brutal, careless, destructive, and so forth. And it continues: we ask forgiveness for passing judgment without knowledge of the facts, distorting facts to fit our theories, deceiving ourselves and others with half-truths, pretending to emotions we don't feel, denying responsibility for our own misfortunes, condemning in our parents and children the faults we tolerate in ourselves, withholding love from those we claim to love. Think about it. We're admitting delusional thinking, insane behavior. Who in their right mind does these things? We do. And if we're truly honest with ourselves, we can likely find we've done each of these at some point in our lives. I know I can sure find myself on the list. Rabbi Shapira teaches us to be honest with our thoughts, speech, and actions using objective vision, which is painful. He says that true honesty requires us to let go of the credibility of our thoughts, saying that as long as my thoughts are ideal in my eyes and my thinking is infallible, introspection will not help, because in my heart I'm saying how sound and straight are my thought patterns. I will not look with detached objective vision, but after several times of experiencing our own psychosis, after laughing at our insane thoughts, we will be able to spot one the next time it comes and correct it. Those are words of the Rebbe from his diary. This has been my experience. The mind is a gift which allows us to plan, analyze, discern, calculate, remember, and do many wonderful things. Yet I have learned that I, like Rabbi Shapira, often get caught in thoughts triggered by my ego pride, my need for control, and my inner tantrums when others don't behave as I think they should. When this happens, I am caught believing thoughts that cause suffering to myself and others. There is a saying, pain in this world is inevitable, but suffering is optional. When I am trying to control the uncontrollable, thinking that my viewpoint is the truth, or judging myself or others, I suffer. My body tenses, my emotions surge, and my blood pressure rises. And if I lash out, I cause suffering for others as well. Another teaching, which the Hasidic master, the Baal Shem Tov, shares, is that what I see in others that I like or I don't like is also in me. The other is a mirror for the self. So when I sit in judgment of someone else, not liking who they are, criticizing their speech and actions, I need to look within. To illustrate this point, I want to share with you a very personal story involving someone I love dearly, my sister Lisa. Lisa and I were same-sex siblings 2 years apart. Our rivalry likely began with her birth, as I was the eldest. Through the years, we struggled with each other openly, as many siblings do. In our 20s, we had a falling out, and our communication became limited and curtly civil at best. The illnesses of both my parents, however, caused our paths to intersect often. I dreaded those meetings. When Mom moved in with us, it became even harder. Lisa had to come to our house to see her. I would answer the door with a smile on my face. "Oh, hi, glad you made it." She knew it was false, and so did I. I knew I had to do something and tried to smooth things over, writing a letter of apology for anything I had done to hurt her in the past. Nothing shifted. Our sister Karen said it was hopeless. The rift between us was too deep and long-standing. She told me to let it go. And there is a teaching like that in mindfulness. When we face things that we cannot change, like other people's thoughts and behaviors, to accept ourselves and them just as we are and to let go. But I wondered if I needed to look in the mirror. So I wrote down every thought I had about my sister. She was mean, self-centered, thoughtless, unforgiving. First I asked myself, is it true? Is it really true? I could remember times in my life when Lisa was kind, caring, thoughtful, and forgiving. So, not all true. And then I looked to find these qualities in myself, where I was mean, self-centered, thoughtless, unforgiving, not only with her, but with others. I could find it all. I had always thought of myself as the one who took the high road in our relationship, but in viewing it this way, I sat in judgment. She had felt it all along. When I finally realized this, and it sunk in, my heart broke open. The next time Lisa arrived to visit Mom, the atmosphere in the house was different. So different, in fact, that Kenny noticed and commented. He wondered if Lisa was happier, if something had changed. I told him I didn't know if Lisa had changed, but that I had. He replied, "You mean you were the problem all along?" I said, "At least part of the problem." I told him about the work I was doing to look at my thoughts and actions with objective vision and loss of credence, and to find my judgments of others in myself using the teachings of Rabbi Shapira and the Baal Shem Tov. He was speechless. 3 months later, Lisa returned and the tension remained gone. On her next visit later that summer, we had an encounter that changed both of us forever. I was having morning coffee, and I could hear her upstairs on the phone talking to her office. She was clearly frustrated when she hung up. She came downstairs, and I asked her if she wanted to talk. To my surprise, she sat down and proceeded to tell me about the struggles of her life. After listening silently for a long time, I responded by saying, "Lisa, I'm so touched you would share this with me. You haven't talked to me about your life in over 20 years. Can I ask, why now?" Without pausing, she said, "For as long as I can remember, there's been a wall around you, and now it's gone." I told her that I knew it was true. I thought I was protecting myself from pain, but it was my own wall of judgment. I told her that I was deeply sorry, and we are close now, true sisters who look forward to our times together. That experience has taught me that I never have to be out of at-one-ment, out of deep connection with myself or another. I truly believe that when I am at one with myself and with others, I am in atonement with God. And it's not that I want to spend time with everyone I meet or that I agree with everything others say and do. Let me repeat that. It's not that I want to spend time with everyone I meet or that I agree with everything that others say and do. But if I am in at-one-ment, I have a feeling of compassion for the other, not judgment. The other is believing his or her crazy thinking, just like I am sometimes. And sometimes it is important for me to speak up to express a difference of opinion. But I know now that they are just opinions, not truths. I don't have to push the other's viewpoint aside. I can listen, try to hear, and understand their experiences, perspectives, beliefs, and values. I can realize that they, like I, are doing the best we can. I am certainly no angel. I sometimes get back on my high horse and judge. I judge others and myself. But through practicing mindfulness, I am catching those thoughts more quickly. Sometimes I struggle to let them go, as I like my position of self-righteousness. It feeds my ego nicely. But in truth, the separation causes suffering to my real self, my soul, and to others. I don't want it. I want peace. I desire connection. I seek at-one-ment. When we see our delusional thinking, Rabbi Shapira doesn't tell us to beat ourselves up or to think of ourselves as horrible people. He says that we will learn to laugh at ourselves and then correct our speech and actions. He is teaching us to be compassionate with the human condition, with ourselves, with everyone. I now seek to cultivate compassion for myself and others. I search for equanimity in times of strife. But more than anything, I seek the courage to be totally honest with myself about my thoughts, speech, and actions, no matter how ugly or painful. It is the best medicine. Then I can let go of my ego and truly do the work of atonement with myself and others. And before I even ask God for forgiveness, I feel it. I know it's there. May this Shabbat Shuvah help us to return to the at-one-ment that is possible if we look deeply inside ourselves, using the practices of those who came before. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May this be God's will.